Hello, and welcome to this week's Movie Math, where I gotta tell ya, I just think the movie business is changing. We're getting a new normal, particularly when it comes to theatrical releases. It's gonna be an identity crisis for the studios, because it's becoming trickier to release a film. And I think, to some degree we're still like, oh, it's the pandemic. Hollywood still isn't back up totally on its feet. But what's that going to look like when it is back up on its feet? And you're just seeing a lack of big movies in the theatrical space. I mean, usually you'd have a ton of options during the holiday season. And this year, there's really just two movies from Disney, Black Panther and Avatar 2, if you'd like to go to the multiplex. And that's a weird place to be. What's going on with the other studios? Come on, get in here. Throw some punches for Pete's sake. All right, so yes, welcome to this week's Movie Math. And I think that thanks to a number of reasons that we've been discussing for the past few weeks, again, Hollywood has changed when it comes to going to movie theaters. There is the pandemic, but I think that's because it hit fast forward on the rise of streaming. Lack of quality in the movie-going experience. For all the complaining that movie theaters do, it's still not a consistently good experience to go to a theater. So many of us are like, all right, I'll go to the theater. And then we're like, why did I go to the theater? I even went to see Glass Onion at like an old school theater, and it was tough. I've been to two screening rooms recently, and it was the old someone tall sitting in front of me problem again. And you're like, I can't believe in 2022 I'm still dealing with this. Could you please scooch down, sir? That was ridiculous. All right, so that also advancements in technology for where you can watch the movie on the go in your home with surround sound on a giant screen. And the economy, speaking of what's affordable. It's cheaper to build yourself a nice little home movie theater than to go to the theaters even once or twice a month. And now, I don't think people go to the theater as much as they used to. The question, can I wait to watch this on streaming, is something asked now by every single moviegoer. A lot of people back in the day used to go to the movies once a month. If Hollywood was lucky. And a number of us were like, I don't get you, man. Once a month, you're crazy. Because a lot of people, like the really core fandom, would go, some people twice a month, some people every weekend. People like you and me would go multiple times a weekend. And I think that the problem is that question of can I wait has trickled down to everybody. Even the hardcore people are like, I don't have to go every weekend. And that is really bad for the theatrical business. And because people are saying yes to that question, I can wait. And streaming makes the waiting easier because there's just so much content that's available, right at my fingertips. I believe that streaming has even hurt repeat business as the studios got into streaming, and fans now know that they can rewatch their favorite movie at no extra cost as many times as they would like on their big screen TV on the studio streaming service. Sometimes it used to be 45 days, but they're making you wait a little bit longer now, but just a few months. You can wait 2 to 3 months because again, there's so much other stuff to tide you over. Take Black Panther Wakanda Forever, a much bigger second weekend drop than the first film, by like 20% more. Yikes. But when you look at the biggest second weekend drops for all the MCU, they're almost all recent movies, which I think speaks to this new normal. I don't think it's necessarily a criticism on Black Panther Wakanda Forever that it had a bigger drop. I mean, Spider-Man No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness did just fine. Multiverse of Madness opened right about where Black Panther Wakanda Forever did, and Spider-Man No Way Home opened much bigger, but both movies still did more than okay. And I think the Black Panther Wakanda Forever is now, it got a little bit of a rough start. Well, rough in that it wasn't as strong as we had hoped. It wasn't as strong as the first movie. It didn't blow the roof off of the box office as, the first film did. But in just 2 weeks, it's at over $500 million already worldwide. You can't complain about that. That's a good performance. And it still has about a month to go until the other movie that comes out this season, Avatar 2. And that includes the lucrative Thanksgiving corridor. So I think it's now very likely that Black Panther Wakanda Forever will join the $1 billion club like its predecessor or come awfully close like Multiverse of Madness. And Marvel ain't gonna complain about that. Whew! So it was a little weak out of the gate, but I think everything's gonna be just fine with Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Then what's the opposite of friendly fire? Friendly falling on your sword? Because that's what Disney Animation is doing with Strange World. See, every Thanksgiving, Disney Animation releases, their latest film. They own Thanksgiving. It's always Disney Animation. But this year, Disney Animation looks to be serving up a real, turkey. How appropriate for the holiday. In fact, I predict that Strange World will be such a flop that along with Lightyear earlier this year, will cause a Lucasfilm-level pause at Disney Animation, which is still basically those two places under the same roof, where they question the current direction of the company. That's how big a flop I think Strange World is going to be. I think it's going to be quite memorable, in fact. We'll be talking about it next week when we actually get a look at its numbers. Now, what's really unfortunate is that I think a number of people will blame the LGBT representation in both films, when the real problem is an overall blandness, not delivering the beloved Disney and Pixar experiences that fans want to see from these studios. Neither Lightyear or Strange World feel like Pixar or Disney movies. And I think that's a big part of their problem. And not focusing as being entertainment as their top priority. I think both films are big on the lecturing. But again, we'll see what Strange World's numbers actually look like next weekend. Who here is planning to see that this weekend in theaters? There is a rumor that it's going to go to Disney Plus pretty fast. I don't think it's going to do well there either, though, to be honest with you. I think that's just going to be a real dud. And while there seems to be only one main course for Thanksgiving, you're eating Black Panther Wakanda for Thanksgiving and Avatar 2 for Christmas. But Hollywood is offering up some tasty side dishes. Although that metaphor doesn't work for me because I prefer the sides. I'm a sides guy when it comes to Thanksgiving. The Menu debuted this weekend and did okay, scoring a B+ cinema score and only a moderate audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. The Menu is Hollywood's latest indictment of the 1%, a real theme this year. You got Triangle of Sadness, Glass Onion, but criticism that some think is a real hoot coming from Hollywood. How is Hollywood criticizing what, themselves? Speaking of criticizing Hollywood, even though She Said is surprisingly honest about Hollywood's complicity in the Harvey Weinstein situation, moviegoers still did not care. Maybe they didn't make that clear enough in the ad campaign. I didn't think the movie looked very good. I went to see it for an awards screening because I'm a Critics' Choice member, and I was surprised at how good the movie is. So hopefully people discover it at some point. But it's not looking good. I mean, this is the latest awards contender to belly flop in the mainstream marketplace. At least the audience scores here are good. I'm telling you, it's a very good movie. Did anyone see She Said? Back me up down below in the comments, please. But what's really alarming for both The Menu and She Said is that their audiences were both overwhelmingly white, at 53% and 62% respectively. At least The Menu reached a younger audience, but She Said? That skewed older than almost all movies ever released, even awards contenders. It's almost unheard of for a movie to skew this old. It did also, not surprisingly, skew a little bit more female than one would maybe hope. I mean, I don't know. That's pretty good. I would think considering the subject matter, it could be even more. So bravo to any of the guys who checked out that movie this weekend. But the total lack of interest from diverse audiences for both these films is again an alarming trend for Hollywood, where casting a wide net of appeal is crucial to getting a return on investment. Movies are expensive to make. Even the cheap ones still cost millions of dollars. And they don't pull from a giant pool of money generated by subscribers. A question Hollywood has to ask itself, you're asking yourself if you can wait for streaming, while Hollywood has to ask itself more and more if they can recoup their investment and turn a profit. I mean, this is a business, again, after all. And increasingly, the answer to that question is no, even on smaller films. I mean, She Said's box office is so poor, even for an inexpensive film, that's alarming. Because, it's a very bad situation. She Said is obviously, again, an awards contender. So it could, make up and get some traction if it gets a lot of nominations. But, I mean, I don't know. The box office numbers are so bad, it's probably going to hurt this film's awards campaign, quite frankly. And, of course, there's always digital and streaming for both these movies. But if that's where they do the bulk of their business, should they have just gone straight to digital streaming in the first place? It's like you can't make these movies for the theatrical space anymore. Again, though, at least She Said it benefits She Said, I think, to be in theaters for awards. Although, does it? With Coda having won last year, did it really need to do anything more than a qualifying run? It's really, again, a difficult space right now. Speaking of changes in Hollywood, once again, the conservative market has made their presence more than known, with The Chosen putting the first 2 episodes of its 3rd season on the big screen and capturing 3rd place at the box office. That is incredible. And then, of course, the latest on Black Adam, and it continues to not look good. Who is still holding out hope for this movie? I mean, the writing is on the wall at this point. It's at 366.2, with really only Japan left to go. And Hobbs & Shaw pulled in about $30 million in Japan. So yeah, Black Adam is going to finish somewhere around $400 million, making it one of the least successful DCEU films to date. I mean, at least I guess it beat out Shazam, but not by much. Right now, it's pretty much where Shazam is. That's not good for Dwayne Johnson. That's really not good for Dwayne Johnson. Why did he stake his entire reputation on it? And not good for Henry Cavill either. Well, we'll see what Gunn and Safran decide to do moving forward, but there seems to be no audience mandate at the box office, the most important mandate for Johnson and Cavill to keep them around. It's very bad. It's very, very bad. Henry Cavill should not have quit The Witcher. All right, over on streaming, 1 week after it wrapped its season, Rings of Power fell completely out of the overall top 10, while House of the Dragon, with just its HBO Max viewership, got a bit of a bump with its own season finale. But Netflix, for all the competition out there, is still dominating, with The Watcher still number 1 and the new movie, The School for Good and Evil, a very strong number 2. Over on the originals chart, here's Rings of Power in 5th place, while She-Hulk, after its own season finale, is totally out of even this top 10. Yikes. While Andor, talk about, it's just done. It's gone. While Andor is barely holding on to the top 10, even with episode 7. These are the best episodes right now. How is it sinking? How is it sinking after episode 6, which was incredible? I mean, we'll see if airing the first 2 episodes of Andor, like the worst 2 episodes, but they're like, let's make that our calling card. And we're like, no. There should be like a title card on the bottom being like, we swear, it gets much better. Andor has its own season finale this week. But they're airing the first 2 episodes for free on several platforms and also on Hulu for several weeks. So we'll see if that boosts the show overall on Disney+. The idea is that you watch the first 2 episodes on those other services and go, hot damn, I need to finish this story, and head over to Disney+. I don't really know if that's going to happen based on the first 2 episodes. They should have at least done the first 3. But even then, I have to tell you, I've seen the final episode of Andor. I think it's a little bit of a soft ending. It goes out as it came in. But those middle episodes are fire. All right, so anyway, with movies, on the movies chart, Paul Feig was hoping The School for Good and Evil would be a comeback for him. And these are indeed strong numbers. I don't know if he's like, I don't know if his career, speaking of mandates, I don't know if he has a mandate. But, at least his career's not dead. While a number of Halloween-themed movies, including classic The Nightmare Before Christmas, are also doing well on this chart. Over on Netflix's charts for just last week, Enola Holmes is still number 1. It couldn't have happened to a nicer movie. I love that. It's a solid number 1. And the first Enola rose to 3rd place, so people are rediscovering that film. They're like, wow, Enola Holmes 2 was really good. Let's go watch that first one. And also, talking about comebacks, Lindsay Lohan's Christmas movie debuted right behind it. I mean, it's not a number 1 debut, Lindsay, but it's still at least not bad. She didn't embarrass herself, let's put it that way. And then after 4 weeks, on this chart, you can see The School for Good. That's how far behind Nielsen is. The School for Good and Evil is already pretty much fallen out, so it doesn't have a ton of staying power. But it still had a nice debut. As for shows, The Crown Season 5, despite weak reviews, Judi Dench really fired an arrow through the heart of that, through the new season. She was very effective. Camilla Parker Bowles owes her BFF. But still, it had a strong debut at number 1. I mean, not an amazing debut. It's not like a Ryan Murphy series. But this is, I think that the show still alive. It can feel good about season 6. I don't know if I'd greenlight a season 7 to cover some of the newer things that have happened. There's been talk about maybe they would do a 7th season. I think The Crown is winding up. I think 6 seasons is a good idea, even though I loved season 5. I thought it was incredibly well done. And then I know a number of you love Warrior Nun. It's very, very popular on social media, but only moderately popular when it comes to actual viewership, because you can see the 2nd season only debuted at number 6. Maybe the show's not too expensive, but that doesn't bode well, I think, for a season 3 that I know a number of you are campaigning for. On iTunes, Ticket to Paradise is still number 1. Counter-programming, huzzah! Well, direct-to-video Lamborghini with Frank Grillo is doing brisk business at number 4. Who watched that? Who watched that? Some of this stuff, I'm like, I bet that movie is just awful. Maybe you guys have it on in the background? And Idris Elba's 3,000 Years of Longing made it into the top 10 as well, now that you can rent it for just $6. A very favorable price point for many a movie. And Pirates, they still got it. The franchise still has it, as it's on sale, the 5-movie collection, and it also made it into the top 10. A lot of bundles are on sale this week, and only Pirates made it into the top 10. Hopefully Disney and Depp can work something out for a 6th film. He doesn't have to be the star of it. Maybe he does. I don't know. He just has to kind of run through there once or twice. As for this coming week, yes, it's Thanksgiving here in the United States. So movies are hitting theaters on Tuesday afternoon. Tuesday is the new Thursday, including Strange World and Devotion, while The Fabelmans and Bones and All both go wide. And don't forget, Knives Out Glass Onion hits select theaters. It's like a semi-wide release, but for just 1 week. Then it disappears, only to reemerge on Netflix December 23rd. Also limited release starting Friday are The Sun and Netflix's, probably in hardly any theaters, but it's the qualifying run, White Noise. As for shows, tonight, Elton John's farewell concert will be streamed live on Disney+. No word if it will be available afterwards, but streaming services are now starting to get into live events. You know, Dancing with the Stars. There's something else Disney Plus has done. There are going to start to be some live comedy specials coming up. So Disney is going to look to see how this performs for sure. So it's on tonight, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Pacific, because it's the concert's taking place on the West Coast. Tuesday sees the debut of Welcome to Chippendales on Hulu, another sexy series on Hulu. I've liked the previous ones. I really liked Pam and Tommy, so I'll check this out. Wednesday, and also Murray Bartlett from White Lotus is on there. He looks very different without his mustache. It's crazy. It's very transformative, but I'm a big fan of his as well, so I'm looking forward to this show. Wednesday has Wednesday Drop on Netflix. Loved that. My review is up. And Echo 3's first 3 episodes premiere on Apple TV. And then on Friday, it's the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special on Disney+. And that's this week's Movie Math. What have you been watching? What do you plan to watch? What do you think about movie-going? Do you think it really has permanently changed, particularly when it comes to going to theaters? And what do you think of the lack of diverse appeal for the menu and She Said? Share those thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.